I know. I don't even have anything today.
What?
I know. Just got my coffee. Old coffee from this morning, no less.
Gross.
Mm-hmm. Mm,
I don't have any kids this week. It's been amazing.
look, yeah. 3, 2, 1. Yay! Happy episode
Yay!
43.
Eee! I don't have any sound effects.
I know that would have been nice if we had thought about that ahead of time.
Or if you'd let me know
Little
what we were
part party.
counting for.
I don't know.
Happy
Hi,
New Year,
Thomas.
everybody. Hi, Eric.
Yeah, it will be the new year by the time this comes out. We're still in 2016. We got a couple days to go. I've moved my mic here, and I feel like I'm bumping it a lot, and it's bugging me. And I think I'm going to have to move it again. But
I'm sure that won't make any sound.
well, how was your week? Are you guys? And we talked about being half speed last week. You guys still kind of in half speed mode this week?
Oh, yeah, those of us who bothered to show up.
Yeah,
It seems like everyone's taken off the most of the week.
yeah. I took some time off. Well, not really time off, but I traveled up out to Arizona this week and spent a couple days with the parental units out there. It was
Nice.
good. Yeah, my sister's out there. Her kid came out with her husband, so we had a little bit of a family gathering. It was nice.
Yeah, I sent my kids off to see their biological dad, so I've been sleeping a lot and enjoying the peace and quiet of my house.
Nice.
I've
Are
been
you
working
working?
on.
Are you working at all? Or are you totally off?
No, I'm working. I've
Yeah.
been working on a 5.2 to 5.3 Laravel migration,
Well,
which,
how's that going?
ooh, doggy.
Hmm.
The Iron IO driver that we used is not supported in 5.3. And so I've been working on getting that fixed up and working and issuing pull requests and figuring out how to point my local composer towards my GitHub repo so that I can pull my version for the time being. And it's been taxing.
5.3's been out for a while. They don't have updated composer packages for Iron.io. I mean, that's not some small shop.
No, the Iron IO package that they include is PHP only. It doesn't tie into the Laravel ecosystem natively.
Mhm.
So Laravel Collective has taken over the Iron IOQ package, and it looks like it might be abandoned at this point.
Oh,
Uh, People are trying to figure out why no one is responding.
mm, mm, interesting. We successfully, for the first time, used that Laravel Shift product I was telling you about. Uh,
Yeah,
had a meeting with the project developers today. Actually, had our first dedicated, pretty much half a day deep dive code review. Um, we have some developers working on a huge project that, with everything that's been going on, I've had difficulty staying involved with and being active with the development on this project. So we decided to take a day and do some real code review. It's probably the first time we've done like this formal sort of code review. We're always kind of spot checking each other, and we do review of pull requests on projects, but we have never really sat down and said, okay, let's look at the project as a whole again and take a look at all the code and ask some questions and see where things are. And man, I gotta tell you, it was so beneficial. I mean, I think everybody just got a ton out of it. I know, as kind of somebody who's been not as in touch with the underlying code as I'd like to be, I really got up to speed on where things were, the direction the code had gone, feel real comfortable with that. I think a lot of that was luck than anything else, because it could have very easily had been completely off the rails, and this would have just been a rude awakening. But fortunately, we have good people working on the project, so it was right on target. Found a couple of small things, found a couple of design decisions that we kind of talked through, going to make some changes, going to refactor some code. But I think the developers working on it, and myself and John, kind of being on the outside looking in on the code, just walked away from the practice with feeling like there was a lot gained out of it.
So worth the time spent then.
Definitely. We need to make that a regular process on all our projects. It seems so counterproductive, because you basically shut down for half a day and just talk about all this code and kind of go through it. And it seems overwhelming. There are tools out there. I mean, my little cheat is I'll sit there and run things through PHP mess detector and PHP code sniffer, which are these PHP code analytics tools that you can run, and it generates just a massive amount of data on mostly formatting issues, and it'll catch variables that it doesn't see being defined, but you can filter through it pretty quickly if you know what you're looking for. And so I kind of do that as my starting point, and I look for little red flags in there and say, okay, let's take a deeper dive into this section here. But yeah, it was good. I tell you, it was. I'm so happy we have the people working on the project that we have working on it, because they're just doing a dynamite job.
Nice.
Yeah. Have you
Well,
ever been part of an official code review?
No.
No.
No, I've
I
had it
highly
like
recommend it. What's that?
I've done it as part of an interview task. The give you a sample of code and have them ask you, well, tell me about this code, tell me what you know, and that kind of thing. But I haven't done the whole team effort thing.
Yeah, it was super enlightening and worked out really well. I strongly recommend doing that. We're going to try to make it more of a practice. I mean, we pride ourselves with our little DiegoDev group of having this hive mentality where everybody's kind of always working on all the projects all the time. And to an extent, we do that. But to get like really deep into the code again and having, so the one thing we're talking about is maybe once a day, one day a month, having the entire group. So all the consultants and all the projects go through all the code bases where everybody can kind of review everybody else's projects and just kind of have open conversations about direction, decisions, any issues they see coming up, and just general knowledge sharing, because we got so much out of it, and it was just John and I working with the developers who, you know how it is, you get so close to code that you become blinded a little bit to it because you're right up against it. So just John and I just kind of doing this recursive walkthrough on the code, we found a bunch of things and had a bunch of conversations. I think that would even get more productive as we got the whole team involved. But that's a lot of effort too. So we need to think through it a little bit on that. But I think that's going to be one of our goals, if nothing else, to do these code reviews of all these projects. Super beneficial. Highly recommend it.
Well, I don't know if you remember last week, but I mentioned something called Laravel Dusk. Do you recall that?
I don't recall you mentioning it, but I do recall. Oh yeah, we talked about. I forgot. We didn't know what it was at the time, right?
Yeah, and this is
But
while I
more
was doing.
Yeah, go ahead.
This is while I was doing all of my testing, working with Selenium, getting all these headaches, and
That's exactly what I was about to say. More importantly, you were talking about the challenges you were having trying to do some testing.
See, I guess I'm not the only one, because right while I was in the middle of all this testing nightmare, the purpose of Laravel Dusk is announced, and it is an easy way of testing Laravel and all of the JavaScript components that now get reinforced with Laravel. So basically, Selenium, but without the Selenium part. It uses the web hook. Boy, I don't remember what it's called. Chrome driver, that's the one. Chrome driver and Facebook PHP WebDriver. So it accesses the browser directly, does all of the tests like Selenium does, but it can do a lot more, such as check when a page is finished loading, or check that an AJAX request has completed or fired, or all of those things. So it really looks like it's going to be what I was looking for in the first place, and I've completely halted all my work on my acceptance testing.
Yeah, it's funny. After we recorded our podcast, I think a couple days later, the Laravel podcast came out, and Taylor Otwell was on there talking about Dusk and what
Playing
it
favorites.
was.
Of course,
And
he goes to the official channels to make announcements.
he goes to his podcast with all his official, bastard.
I don't see how we're supposed to compete with that.
Shouldn't call him a bastard. I'm going to be talking with him next week. Did you know that?
I did. Yeah, and he also is the primary source of all of our income.
Yes, this is true.
Having written, yeah, he could just
blacklist
Southern California.
I heard him talking about Laravel Dusk, and specifically the ability for the test to wait for JavaScript to render. And I'm like, oh man, this is exactly what Thomas was complaining about on the show last night. It was like perfect timing.
No, it's as if he was somehow listening to me and just said, "Oh, I have a thing I've been working on."
I can assure you, he's not listening to you. He absolutely does not care about you. I've asked him.
I have never abandoned a ticket as quickly as I did that acceptance testing ticket when I got this news. It burned on its way to the trash
typical Laravel fashion too. It's like you're working through like the next like oh, Laravel's great. It does all these things except for this one thing, and I've almost got a workflow worked out to address this. And then the next release is like, oh, boom, oh yeah, we do this now. It's like, well, damn it.
Now, my question is to you: why is this not a package for Laravel?
I really
don't know. Because this is a feature of 5.4. This is not a standalone thing for Laravel.
Right. And yeah, I really don't know. I mean, the only thing I can think of is it's just a matter of backporting it. I know in the past when Taylor has come up with, like, when he came up with some of the middleware in 5.3, it's not like it was a lot of effort to backport it to 5.2. It's just something he wasn't willing to do. He was, he had already kind of moved on, so he was moving forward. So it's probably not going to be something too difficult to backport, but because it's 5.5 is when he said he's going to require PHP 7, so it's not even, it wouldn't even be the requirement of PHP, right?
So right, yeah, and 5.5 is still a ways off.
Yeah, probably July. I just anticipate it's just a matter of he's working on 5.4, and that's that's the next kind of bundle he's coming out with. So he's just not backported it. It wouldn't surprise me if somebody else backports it after it's released. I don't know.
Or if it gets backported to the Slim Laravel framework.
Lumen. Yeah.
Yeah, so I've given up on acceptance testing, and I'm anxiously awaiting acceptance testing. Welcome to the Laravel ecosystem.
So I said I'm talking with Taylor Otwell. I might also make that official announcement. we're going to be interviewing him on LaraChat next Thursday.
Now you have a lot going on with LaraChat. I've seen
I do.
LaraChat in the news lately.
Did you see that? How cool is that, huh?
I love it. A whole site redesign.
Yeah, those guys. I had nothing to do with that. I basically they sent me a link, said, "Hey, we're thinking of redoing the site. This is what it looks like." And I'm like, "Yeah, that looks cool." And that was pretty much my involvement with the whole thing. But yeah, those guys, man, I tell you what, there's just some smart people over there, and they are tearing it up right now. A lot of exciting things happening for them in 2017. Unfortunately, it sounds like I'm going to be involved with some of it, and I'm pretty excited
Unfortunately,
about that. I said fortunately. There was a fortunately there.
I
Yeah,
noticed
so
DiegoDev is up there as a sponsor for LaraChat now. So
we
congratulations on
are.
that.
Yeah, you've got a sharp eye. I wasn't even going to call that out. Yes, we are.
Yeah.
That's kind of a fluke thing, to be honest with you. I appreciate the fact that they threw our logo on the site. I'm actually pretty honored by it, to be honest with you. But it was a matter of I don't know if you recall. I'm sure you do. A few weeks back, I decided to rip all their stuff to audio versions and get them up on iTunes. And I'd done all that, but for iTunes, you need an RSS system. And for PHP Ugly, you can do your own, which is kind of a pain. For PHP Ugly, we use SoundCloud, which it works out pretty well. But and it's not exactly cheap. And I found an alternative that we decided to use for LaraChat. And so I just said, LaraChat, I mean, it's just a community forum, right? There's no they're not raising funds. Nobody donates to them.
Sure.
They're talking about maybe trying to do some sponsorships or something, so that moving forward, because there are going to be several costs associated with this LaraChat community that everybody's kind of paying for out of their own pocket. So I just said, hey, we'll pay for the hosting of the RSS feed for LaraChat's audio version. Don't worry about it. We'll pick it up. So we went ahead and did that for them, and they're like, well, we'll make DiegoDev a sponsor of LaraChat. I'm like, oh, yeah, that was pretty easy.
Now, you're saying you're not involved with the site redesign here, but the sign up for the Slack channel says, "Hello, my name is Batman. You can email me at batman@Wayne Enterprises."
That was always there.
That seems like your hand.
That was always. I swear to God, that was always there.
It's always said Batman.
It's always
it wasn't
said
you,
Batman.
the Batman super fan.
Not everybody knows. See, you've ruined my secret identity. My fan.
As a nerd, I think it was given away long ago.
Can you see me? Yeah, maybe you'll see the books. I don't know, but yeah, no, that's always been there. Yeah, I tell you, I have not touched a line of code on that site. I'm working on a couple of things. I have access to the repo, but haven't touched the line of code of the live site. That was all Sean and Matt. Those are the two guys that did that code base. Man, they did a fantastic job.
It's looking great. So congratulations, guys.
Yeah, definitely. And like we said, coming up in next week, we're doing, I guess I should start using the term, we are doing an interview. Not so much an interview. We're trying to keep it still a round table like we've always been, but we're trying to make sure we bring in kind of special guests and community leaders. I've been reaching out to a lot of the Laravel user group organizers to see if they want to participate. So if you're an organizer of a Laravel user group, send me a message on Twitter at Showcom, and we'll talk about getting you on the LaraChat podcast. But we have Taylor Otwell is going to be on, Jeffrey Way, Eric Barnes, Adam Wathen. We said all this. Oh, the guy for Laravel Shift is also going to be on as well. So,
oh, nice.
Yeah, we're trying. I mean, it's again, we don't want to make it a straight up this is an interview with Taylor Otwell podcast. There'll be like a 10 or 15-minute segment of doing the interview skit with him, but ideally it'll continue to be the round table. Just, he'll participate in whatever the topic is.
Hopefully, there's more news by that point in time, because man, it's been slow this week.
It's like everybody's on vacation or something.
Yeah, I know. No one's doing anything.
I know. You know what I did? We talked about PHP Tech last week, and I think the
Absolutely.
call for papers will be up tomorrow. I think the call for papers ended on December 30th, and we're recording on the 29th. So hopefully get those in. But I decided to go ahead and get my PHP Tech conference ticket as well. Since I
Wow,
had
you're
my
just on a spending spree.
yeah.
Now I hear
I stand behind the fact that if you go to one PHP conference, PHP Tech is probably the conference to go to. For me personally, Laracon is my conference of choice. And I feel that even if you're not in the Laravel community, it's still a good general PHP conference to go to. But if what you do is PHP development, especially if you're involved with another framework or something, PHP Tech does seem like that one conference that you really want to attend. So
yeah,
John kind of talked me into it.
I'm excited about PHP Tech. I wish I could do it this year, but I'm waiting until I can fit in an economy seat on an airplane again.
Is that your goal?
That's my goal.
You laugh. I'm sitting there thinking, okay, I've got like 5 months to lose about 50 pounds. I need to
Oh God, it's the
work on that.
worst.
I know.
That flight to Louisiana for Laracon in 2013, or I'm sorry, 2014. God, was a nightmare.
Yeah.
Uh,
And
oh,
I've got the width and the length as well. So I mean, even when I get skinny, these things are still very uncomfortable for me because I'm a 6'4", 6'4", 6'5"
yeah,
guy.
but at least the
So
wife's happy.
she's happy.
You've got
Why?
you've got you've got everything that. So the Symphony conference is coming up.
Did I totally miss
What?
something there? Yes, the Symphony conference is returning to San Francisco because they left their heart in San Francisco. They figured they'd come back, try to find it. Yeah, that seems like exciting news. I'm not really dialed into the Symphony world, so I don't know the significance of that. I do remember last year they were supposed to be in Chicago, and I don't know what happened. Something came up, and they ended up canceling that SymfonyLive in Chicago last year. I'm not sure if it was a lack of interest, which I would find very hard to believe for Symfony.
Yeah, that would
Um,
surprise me.
yeah, I assume something happened, maybe with the venue or something. I have absolutely no idea. But whatever the case may be, they're actually coming back this year to San Francisco. Now, the SymfonyLive is their conference, but they're all around the world. I know Paris is a big one for them. I think Symfony is actually over in Paris or in France, maybe. I want to say they're over there somewhere. Um, but I know they're over in Paris, and they have a couple around the world. But the one here in the U.S. is going to be in San Francisco in October.
Yeah, that actually looks like a good one. I want to get into the Symphony stuff a little bit more.
I think
know?
if I hadn't gone down the path of Laravel, I feel like I would be more into Symfony because I was leaning that way. Cake PHP hadn't really done anything in a while. That was the framework I had kind of attached myself before. I was looking more and more into Symfony. Zen was just over my head. I couldn't get my head around Zen. I had started looking more and more into Symfony. Had a couple of friends who were Symfony developers who were part of the PHP user group. It was kind of the path I felt myself being drawn towards, and then Laravel popped on my radar, and the rest is pretty much history.
Speaking of Zend frameworks, Starting over. Speaking of Symfony, I remember when I chose Laravel over Symfony and Zend.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, I remember looking at the books for everything, trying to make the decision. This is in the 4 days, the Laravel 4 days, and something interesting came out today that sort of validates my choice of Laravel over Zend framework and Symfony.
What's that?
You know who Cal Evans is?
I'm familiar with Cal Evans. Yes.
He's the technical manager at Zend Technologies, and he was recently quoted in an article saying, Laravel stands above all others with the tooling and ecosystem built around it to help developers just get things done.
Yep. Yeah, that's
So right now,
encouraging words coming from him.
right now, Cal Evans, the technical manager at Zend, is a big fan of Laravel. I think that really makes me feel like I made the right decision here.
Yeah. Yeah, but you also got to keep in mind Zen's target audience is a lot different than the Laravel target audience, right?
Oh yeah.
Yeah, Zen is very corporate, corporate structured, enterprise solution sort of. Not that Laravel doesn't work there, but that's Zen makes money, and that's where they make their money. And
Yeah, and they're very strict about their LTS stuff, and they're very, very Semver on everything.
But yeah, I mean, it's always good to hear that. And Cal Evans, I mean, it doesn't matter who the guy works for. The guy's going to tell you how it is. I mean, if the company he's working for creates a crap product, he'll be the first one to tell you it's crap product. Now he'll do it in a very encouraging way, but he's a straight talker. Big fan of Cal Evans. I mean, he's done so much for the PHP community in recent years. Yeah, he's a good guy. And like I said, if you want the straight story, go to Cal. He'll let you know.
So that article was about PHP trends for 2017. And seeing as we're at the end of the year here, I thought you and I could discuss what we see happening in PHP in 2017.
Okay. Lay it on me. What are your predictions?
I've got some straight up statistics here. I can tell you Laravel 5.4 is coming out in January, and Laravel 5.5, which is the next LTS release since 5.1, is going to be coming out in July.
Right.
Aside from that, I'm expecting to see PHP 7 really dominate the market. I think you're going to see the five branches just really wither on the vine. The performance gains that we're getting out of PHP every iteration now, it's just undeniable. You're losing money by staying on an older version.
So I've heard some interesting conversations. Let's talk about this. Talk through this a little bit.
Go on.
We've spoken a lot about PHP potentially getting a just-in-time compiler, right?
Sure.
A JIT compiler.
Sure.
It seems like they're very close to making that happen. And if it does happen, it's going to happen in 2017. I've heard a lot of conversation ranging and this is from people I respect from end to end, ranging from the JIT compiler is not going to be impactful as everybody thinks it's going to be. Yes, it has what appears to be some good numbers to begin with, but in real world use cases, those numbers aren't as significant and probably not really worth the effort it's going to take, and it's not going to have as big of an impact. I kind of agree with that from a web perspective, because PHP itself has gotten so fast. Servers have gotten so fast. I can see where they're coming from there. But then, I think it was on Three Devs and Maybe, another podcast I listened to, and guys are super smart. They're good because they were on that list last week of good podcasts to vote for that we didn't make. You remember that list?
They only have good podcasts on that list.
Yeah, so these guys know what they're talking about as opposed to us. But the one of I forget which host brought it up, but one of the hosts on the show brought up the thought that where the JIT compiler is going to shine for PHP is if you think about expanding PHP out of the realm of just web development and maybe having it like on embedded devices and things like that. That's where this JIT compiler could really start to shine, where you don't need to have an entire web server, application server, and all this installed. You just have your JIT compiler, your PHP script, and boom, and you're off and running on Internet of Things and all these other different solutions outside of web that you would typically kind of associate PHP with. Thoughts, opinions?
Well, by my understanding, a lot of the latency that's currently in PHP comes from the request response cycle. So basically bootstrapping every time a page is called. And I believe that JIT is the first step into mitigating that stack that everyone in PHP is used to. Where we have the request, we instantiate it, we don't worry about garbage collection a whole lot, we don't worry about persistence or synchronous failures. I think with the JIT compiler, we're also going to see frameworks that take advantage of the JIT compiler much more strongly. The fact that it's going to be, or it's currently spec'd as PHP 8 might be a little deceiving. Between 5 and 7, there wasn't a whole lot of backwards compatibility breaking, but I believe PHP 8, if it is a JIT compiler, will be pretty backwards compatible breaking. You'll see a lot of thread safety stuff come up that people just hadn't worried about before in PHP. And once that stuff gets handled, once there are frameworks that know how to manage it, you'll see some very, very fast frameworks, but it's not going to be until people are prepared to take that leap. My concern is that it could fracture the PHP ecosystem.
Mm-hmm.
Done incorrectly, it could create some serious problems. So it's going to really be up to the PHP internals group to decide how they want to go about doing this. And if the performance really isn't there, then it might just be abandoned by the PHP group for the sake of maintaining a unified front.
Mm-hmm. I don't think it would. I don't know if I agree with you there as far as it may get abandoned. I don't think it would. I'm curious if it's going to be part of an official release of PHP or if it's just going to become some sort of add-on, or I don't know. It's going to be interesting. I think it's going to happen just because it's one of those things that so much work's been put into it that it's going to probably get released in some form. I'm just not sure I see how much impact it's going to have, or if it's going to really have a whole lot of impact.
Yeah, I think the HHVM is going to be dead. I'm not sure who's working on it now, what it's being done now, but I know that Laravel 5.3 no longer supports HHVM. HHVM is no longer a real blow out of the water as far as performance compared to 7.1.
Right. Yeah, I think the release of PHP 7, really kind of put the brakes on a lot of the HHVM talk that people were thinking about moving over to HHVM. I'm sure it still has a niche market and probably still having some development done with it, but I feel like the overwhelming desire to move to something like HHVM was kind of squashed a lot with PHP 7.
Yeah, I think when the benchmarks came out showing a less than 1% difference, then people sort of said, well, why would I bother?
Yeah, totally. See what else? Oh shit! Hit my mic. Damn, sorry about that. What else? 2017. Come on, gotta be something else. Nothing.
I don't know that there's going to be a whole lot. I think what we saw with the Fig in 2016, we're going to see resolutions to. A lot of the conflict around that group sort of hasn't gotten resolved at this point, and PHP community is going to need to figure out where it's focusing its attention towards standards and things like that. I know that there are a number of different standards groups that are popping up sort of in the wake of the Fig group doing whatever it's doing now. But I think it'd be nice to have a good standards group come up and say, here's how things are going to move through 2017, and here's a 5-year plan for PHP.
Yeah, I think we still need some sort of overwhelming standards committee that everybody agrees to. But that's the problem with those things in general. Not everybody's going to agree to them, and eventually they break down. I think my goal in 2017 is to see how long I can go without shaving. This is the most facial hair I think I've had. Facial hair and head hair. Like, this is the most hair I've had on my head, I think, in probably 20 years.
I haven't had a meetup for almost 2 months now.
I'm not sure what to do with it. I know. I'm debating what I'm going to do here. I'm debating if I'm sticking with this look, which my family seems to enjoy just because it's so unusual, or if I'm going to just go back to what everybody expects me to look like.
If it makes you feel any better, our expectations are very low.
Oh, it's always good to know that I have you to support me in my decisions.
Hey, I'm here for you every Thursday.
Every Thursday from 10:30 to 11:30, but
Yep.
not a moment after.
I think we're going to see a functional framework.
Functional framework.
I think right now one of the big buzzwords in the PHP community is functional programming. Stuff like Golang. It's
So it's not just a PHP community thing. It's a coding thing, right? Everybody's talking about functional programming.
Yeah.
And
now security,
you didn't seem
man.
like you didn't seem like you were a fan of functional programming.
I don't necessarily follow the logic.
Okay, so you're still not really a fan of it.
Yeah, I mean, I don't have a reason to be a fan. I don't consider how I code to be a way of coding. It's just a collection of all the things I've learned throughout how I do things. I there are times where I see examples of functional programming and I say, yeah, I'm already doing that where I should be doing that. And then where I shouldn't be, I'm using event calls and objects and everything else.
Yeah.
Or
there's some conversation going on about where functional programming fits in the PHP landscape. I'm going to be interested to see where that lands. But you bring up a good scenario. I think you're right. I think you will see a framework released that is heavy on functional programming for PHP.
So yeah, that's my guess for 2017. I don't see a whole lot of stuff. I mean, like I said, with PHP 7.1, I think PHP is finished. I mean, complete. It's the things that were missing from 7 as far as strict typing are resolved. So the next place to go is performance and flexibility, with the JIT compiler, we'll see how quickly it happens. It could be real fast, or it could take all the way to PHP 10.
You just like throwing numbers out there. You're throwing out PHP 8 and PHP 10 now. I have yet to hear about any of these versions except from you. You're like
I'm bleeding edge.
You're a man. You're like from the future. It's like PHP 8 is going to happen.
I promise you, if I was from the future, my predictions for PHP 2017 would be much more specific. I'd be flexing my future knowledge right now.
Jeez. Okay, what are we doing? We're moving cards around.
Yeah.
What happened? What happened to the other cards? I just tried moving a card. Where'd it go? Oh, it went way over here. What happened there?
The power of I don't know. That's a longer conversation.
Oh, did you just move that over to
I did.
if we need? Oh, okay. My bad. I was trying to move that one. I must have been trying to move it when you moved it. And okay, sorry about that. I'll cut all this out.
And slow it down.
Dude, what was up with that?
PHP.
Thomas.
If it sounded like Eric was a little tipsy in the last podcast, you should have heard the first cut, because it got slowed down by about a half an octave. And boy, did he sound wrong.
We've been having the weirdest problems with our editor lately, and I'm not sure what it is. I'm not afraid to talk about it because we pay the guy to do the work. So, but it was like
been great so far.
It has, except for the last two shows. The previous show, I didn't even share the previous show with you because it was so bad.
You got chipmunked on it.
I'm like, I can't even post this. Well, it was like all this.
Right, the Darth Vader.
I'm a heavy mouth breather, and I know this, and I take actions to help reduce it. But in post, even when I was doing the post myself, I had tricks I would do to remove my heavy breathing. You as well. You're through our entire podcast. You vape, and you're constantly sucking. Yeah, you're like in this haze of fog constantly. But again, you kind of consciously turn away from the mic when you do it. The mic still picks it up a little bit, but it's easy to kind of filter out. In the previous episode 41 came out, and it was horrible. It was like the worst I've ever heard. And I didn't even share it with Thomas. I just sent it back to the editor. I'm like, I can't release this.
I really wouldn't have listened anyways. I just would have agreed with you. Yeah, that's terrible. Weird.
I had actually already queued up because, again, with the work I was doing at LaraChat, I've already created all these Audacity formulas now that I send the recording through that does a bunch of cleanup for me without me having to go through and edit it, second by second, like I had been doing when I was a newbie and a chump. So I had the scripts. I'm like, I'm gonna just throw this through the Laravel LaraChat scripts I have and release it. So I started doing that, and you still have to tack on the intros, the outros, the music. So I was kind of working on that. But at the same time, I sent it back to the editor, and to the editor's, defense or praise or whatever. He sent it right back. He apologized. He's like, hey, I don't know how you got that version. Here's the correct version. So he kind of gave me the impression maybe the wrong version was sent to me, and I could totally see that. Honest mistake. First time we ever had a problem with any of our shows from the guy. Typically does a fantastic job, goes above and beyond. So I'm like, that was unusual, but whatever. Episode 42 comes in, and it was like the weirdest thing. I'm listening to it. I'm like, what the hell? Do I sound like that? It's like my stream was like dialed back, and I was talking really slow.
Now, it's entirely possible that is what you sounded like, and he just didn't know what to make with it.
Well, so I'm like, we keep the original. So I go back to the original. I'm listening to it. I'm like, no, that's not what I sound like. So I was sure that something had gone wrong. This time I sent it back to him. Again, when I send shows back to him, he probably gets them returned to me within like an hour or two. But this time it was without anything. It was just he returned it. He goes, try this one. And I'm like, dude, what happened to the last one? You know, at least the last time you made me feel a little better, like maybe it was a mistake. This time you're just kind of like, whatever, dude, get off my back.
I think this time it might have just been you, and he's just trying to make you sound good and can't.
Well, yeah, that's just he should have given up on that a long time ago.
That's a consistent problem.
Yeah, that's not going to happen. I told you we went and speaking of sounds that come out of my body, we went to visit
Lord, where is this going?
in Arizona.
They heard you all the way from here?
This is a safe place. Trust me on this one. We go to Arizona and the house is pretty full, and so we're staying in a hotel and love my family, and I'm sure they love me. But I sit there and we're all in one hotel room. It's myself, my wife, my two daughters, who are adults now. They're 18 years old. And all of them have brought earplugs because we're all sleeping in the same room. So, it's just, that's just life for them, I guess. It's like, I don't even think about it. It's like, why do you guys have earplugs? Who's going to bother you while you're sleeping? It's like, it took Dad a little while to put it together, but I figured it out.
At least they're polite.
I snore.
They didn't rub your face in it. Yeah.
Well, that's in all honesty, that's just going to be a battle they're not going to win because I'm not changing.
I'd love to. My wife knows to just push me over and I'll stop snoring.
I think my wife's given up on trying to stop me from snoring. So yeah, there's that.
You know what I don't have this week?
What's that?
Doom and gloom.
Well, there's nothing. Maybe that is the doom and gloom, that there is no doom and gloom.
It's 2016. 2016 is over.
2016
the year,
as a whole was doom and gloom. I like the
year that would not give up.
Princess Leia died. That's doom and gloom. That's geek.
Everyone died. It's getting ridiculous.
Did you hear Princess Leia's mother died planning her funeral?
Yeah.
Did you hear that? How bizarre is that? Oh, man. Prince died. David Bowie. Yeah, 2016 sucked.
Yeah, no, this whole year has been awful. I don't want to end it on doom and gloom, so I'm not gonna. My only issue is that everyone's a little too friendly with the fact that the year has sucked. Everyone's just saying, "Oh yeah, 2016 was awful."
Well, I think
it's coming. It's gonna be pretty bad.
I think everybody's bracing for 2017.
Yeah. It's not looking great.
So you put servers for hackers.com on here. There's no article or anything?
No article. No, this is we're huge fans of Laracasts here.
Mm-hmm.
And servers for hackers.com is essentially the same thing, but it is server administration for people who aren't into server administration. So, namely, developers.
Mm-hmm.
If you're running a small shop, something Laravel focused, Laravel really plugs itself as the microservice framework. It's one of the big things that Taylor brings up at the keynotes.
Mm-hmm.
But if you're running your own microservice, then there's probably a lot about your server that you don't know. Things that you really should know. And this is a big collection of free videos, well presented, on how to secure your server, back up your server, improve performance on your server, firewall your server. Lots of really important things. I highly recommend everyone drop in and check it out.
Yeah.
So
this is actually done by Chris. I can't pronounce this last name. It's F-I.
Feidloper?
Fideo. How'd you say it?
Fideloper?
Fidao.
Fideloper. Fide.
Where are you getting the L at, Loper? Where the P?
The copyright.
Your skin.
It says
Anyways,
Fide Developer LLC. So his name's
he
Fide Developer.
he actually spoke at Laracon this year, 2016. Laracon US 2016. So yeah, this guy is big in the PHP community, Laravel community, all about exactly what you said. Server administration for maybe people who aren't operations people. Yeah, so you stumbled across the site, or is this something you'd known about for a while?
This is something that was going around on our Slack channel for a while.
Was it?
Yeah, it did.
Our Slack channel?
Yeah, it popped up from Frank.
Oh, shoot, man. I totally missed that
Frank, our most dedicated listener.
Yeah, I'm sure he's listening as we speak. Maybe not. Well, Frank, you out there? No, there's nobody listening. Frank, Slack us. What did Frank say about this site? I missed this. Where's this at?
Frank and Marcus actually said that they both came there for the same thing. That there's a Docker series on the site that gets you up and running with PHP and Docker, and that's where they started. They hit it, got some Docker information, and then boom, decided.
Because I did a whole SDPHP talk on Docker and PHP and getting up and running. Glad that didn't stick, but this did. Fantastic, guys. Thanks for the support.
I do believe you mentioned this in your talk and said they should check it out if they wanted more information.
I might have. But still, it'd be nice to. Whatever.
I don't think you getting credit for this website is part of their license.
This is why I don't submit paper talks anymore. Nobody listens to me. This is why I've had to go and do podcasts, because nobody listens to me.
Nobody what?
I'm not sure why Laird Chat asked me to be on their podcast. Nobody listens to me. What?
No, you need to fill air.
Yeah. That's it. All right. Where are we
at? 2016's over.
Thank God.
We are almost at 1 year of PHP Ugly, and boy, it's been an ugly year. Do you think this is our fault?
Wow,
do you think 2017 is our fault?
We're what, nine episodes away from doing a complete year of PHP Ugly. I think that's it for me, man. I think we do a year and we're done. We just drop the mic and walk away.
There's only 8 more until I move.
Wow.
We could cut it right at 51 episodes of a PHP Ugly dozen.
There you go. And then just make it like Firefly. Make the fans demand us to come back to do the 52nd episode.
Yes.
That's what we'll do.
51 episodes in a movie.
Yeah.
PHP Ugly the movie.
And just make those people with OCD just go nuts. Like there's 51. Just need one more episode, and you'd have 52. Why don't you guys just do the 52nd
terrible
one?
Idea.
All right.
Well, Eric, Thomas, you have a safe and happy New Year.
You too, my friend. Are you any plans?
I plan on not leaving my house as I do every
I'm
New
with
Year.
you on that one. I'm with you on that one.
New Year's parties are dumb.
All right, brother. Well, this has been a great show. Episode 53, 54. Where are we at? 43. 43. Wow.
52 is a full year. Where did you go? I just lost you for a second there. That's what you get for drinking day-old coffee. It has the opposite effect. It just slows you out.
Episode 43 of PHP Ugly is in the books. I'm Eric Van Johnson.
I'm Tom Rideout.
Keep it ugly.
Ugly. Woo!
Kill your recording.
Wait, we're supposed to be recording that?